Welcome to our podcast. I'm Tom McGill, and this is Jerry Powers. We're with the group CORE, Citizens for an Open and Responsible Edgewood, and we're, as promised, bringing you another episode, another podcast, and our subject this time is the court proceedings that happened Tuesday the 27th. And what happened, Jerry?
Well, the town had tried to overturn our judgments against John Bassett, which removed him from office, which applied a writ of mandamus to the town to enforce the removal from office, and also for fraud against taxpayers, for fraud, and for a declaratory judgment under quo warranto that says he has forfeited his office.
And this was a town attorney, paid for by the town.
Yeah, Marcus Real appeared on behalf of both apparently John Bassett personally and the town, and the court caught that and said, you cannot be here representing both. It's a conflict of interest. And of course, Councilors Audrey Jaramillo and Sherry Abraham intervened in the case, filed their own motion, saying that they objected to the town attorney, who's paid by our taxpayer funds, showing up to represent John Bassett's personal interest. This is kind of the history of what's been happening in town, right? The misuse of public funds for Mayor Bassett's benefit.
It sounds like a pretty desperate thing to do. Those judgments, and the action was to set aside those judgments, make them go away. It seemed a little unlikely over these petty technicalities they came up with.
Well, they were claiming they hadn't had enough notice and they hadn't had enough opportunity. So I want to quote directly from a transcript from what the judge had to say. She says, I'm going to deny your request of stay. So they were asking for a stay in the matter. There has been ample opportunity for response to been filed in this case. There hasn't been at this point, regardless of the excuses. So the default is in place and will remain in place. The court finds you do not have standing, Mr. Real, to proceed with any motion to stay this proceeding. So she said he didn't have standing because he's got this obvious conflict where he's supposed to be representing the town, but he's also asking for the judgments against John Bassett to be set aside.
Well, the judge, I think, properly said, I'm not going to set these judgments aside, and I'm not going to stall and give you more time.
Exactly.
You need to go back, and she instructed the governing body to go back and do what they were supposed to do according to the ordinances that they gave their oath of office to uphold.
Yeah, the thing is that the mayor has been doing this as a matter of course. I think he's gotten so used to doing whatever he wants to do regardless of the law and regardless of the rules that he thinks he could get away with it. And he can, I guess, just by default in the town, because they outnumber him, and the two lockstep counselors outnumber the other two. But what he's done is inappropriate. When you take it to a higher authority, they consistently say no. Remember when he had to be ordered by a court to hold the special election in August because he refused to follow the law. This has been a standard operating procedure around here.
And this is, he'd used the same tactics then. He would create special meetings to take care of business and cancel scheduled ones.
Yeah.
And he did the same kind of end runs on the council, where he would just keep them out of the decision-making process. That hurt him this time, did it not?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, he did the same thing. There was a scheduled meeting the day after the hearing, Wednesday, the 28th, and he canceled that meeting as well. So now we've got I want to read another excerpt here. This is Marcus Real, the attorney that appeared for the town and for Mayor Bassett. And he says, Your Honor, so until these motions are filed, you set another hearing, are you telling me that you're going to allow the writ of mandamus to obtain, that Mayor Bassett is no longer mayor, or you're waiting until you can hear these motions and they've been filed? And she says, the court has granted the motion to strike your pleadings that would be filed. So it's, as it stands, a default order is in place. That's our order against John Bassett, and that order is in place. Any motions are not pending, are considered stricken from the record. So she struck his pleadings and his motions as if they never existed. And she says, so for that purpose, the order for default remains in place as the last order in this manner. And Marcus Real says, I don't understand how the town is supposed to operate, Your Honor. And she says, I would guess that the counselors in the governing body will make that determination, Mr. Real, Thank you very much. Nothing further. This matter's adjourned. So she did the right thing in this matter. Is that there are no guesses that the democracy's been restored and the power back to the governing body, which it always has been, but the mayor has sidestepped the council at every turn.
So it's up to the governing body to clean up this mess.
Right. And that doesn't include the mayor, because by virtue of the judge's orders and quo warranto, he's forfeited his office. So he's now a usurper if he tries to come in and exert authority that he no longer has as mayor. He never should have done that, because he has such an obvious conflict in the first place. You can't vote on a matter that pertains to your personal benefit. And of course, having the town spend the money to defend him and defend his wrongful actions certainly benefits only one person, John Bassett.
Right, and I think all of us, we're not attorneys, but all of us recognize conflict of interest. And voting on whether you should sue yourself falls into that category.
Whether you should use town funds to defend yourself in
Exactly.
an action, so you're exactly right.
Especially when the basis of the accusation is that you're already using town resources for your own benefit.
Yeah, it's amazing. So he's been found guilty of using town resources for his own benefit, which disqualifies him from office. Now he wants to use town taxpayer funds to defend his wrongful actions against the town. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's. I get the impression that there is a writ of mandamus, which has a certain time limit, expectations of fulfillment. Time marches on, and I've got a feeling that these delaying tactics are going to work against the two councilors and the mayor who are engaging in this. I think getting extensions to the writ of mandamus isn't that difficult, but at some point you just push it too far.
Well, I think he's already been disqualified from holding office. So we look back in the record, and there were no less than 5 different meetings over the last 6 or 8 months since this lawsuit's been filed, where Councilor Abraham or Councilor Jaramillo or both have been asking for a meeting to deal with this issue. And they completely sidestepped it, and the mayor's done whatever he wanted to do, which was delay and not respond. And now they're squealing like crazy that because they've delayed, the judge said they had ample opportunity. Now they've been found wrongful conduct, and they have judgments against them, rulings against them.
Well, just recently, before this recent hearing, one of the counselors, Councilor Jaramillo, requested a special meeting so that they could do their duty and follow the law. And I gather that the two counselors would not, Abrams and Holly, the two lockstep counselors, would not go along with that. It's going to be real interesting now to see whether they will go along or not, because they actually have been named and identified now, and they're on the radar. So they can probably expect consequences personally.
Yeah, I mean, they're again, the Abrams and Holly are treading on very dangerous ground, because they are participating in this sort of conspiracy. That's what they call it when you get together and decide that you're going to use public funds for somebody else's benefit or private individual's benefit. That's a crime. So they are now treading on the same ground that got John Bassett disqualified from office, and we're watching. And of course, that we're committed to an open and responsible government where the will of the people is reflected in these actions, and they are certainly not at this point. So if Abrams and Holly don't pay attention, and if they violate their oath of office by conspiring with the mayor to use public funds for his private benefit and defense, then we are going to take appropriate action with them as it needs to happen, whatever that is.
Well, this recent special election centered around ending waste, fraud, and abuse, and fighting waste, fraud, and abuse.
That's right.
And these two counselors are doing everything they can to support the waste, fraud, and abuse. So they're going against their community, and they're not representing their community well.
I think everybody except the mayor and councilors Hawley and Abrams recognizes that when you get a 300% from normal turnout at an election, and 70% of that massive turnout votes to change the form of government and eliminate the mayoral position in favor of an open government of commissioners, that everybody is paying attention to that except those people.
Except those people.
They
Yes.
recognize it as a mandate. People have called me and said, well, gosh, that seems like such an excessive mandate that they would have to do something. And I said, well, that depends on whether they're listening. The question for Councilor Holly and Abrams is, are you listening?
Yeah. So this is, I pointed out in a post, this is step up time.
Yeah.
You either step up or you get stepped on.
Yeah, they're going to make their choice here, and they're going to go over a line or they're going to stay within the line and do their duty, and we'll be watching.
And we'll be watching.
So we asked last time at our last podcast for people to call in to Councilor Holly and Abrams and to send them emails asking them to do the right thing, and we're going to repeat that request. Please help with this. Let them know if you agree with us not to use taxpayer funds to defend John Bassett's wrongful actions. Have them step up and do the right thing here, and let them know that you're watching, because it makes a difference. Thank you, and thank you for what you've already done.
Thank you very much. And we can remind them that this effort to set aside these judgments has just strengthened the judgments. The judge clarified what was expected, and we need to let them know. So we are so grateful for the support and that we've had, and it's been terrific. So thank you very much, and thank you, Jerry, for all the work that you did on this process.
I appreciate it. I want to acknowledge you and Mayor Calkins, that we're the three plaintiffs in this action. And it's not been easy, and it takes a lot of time and effort and money to prosecute these kind of actions, but you just can't put up with this kind of fraud and corruption in your own town where you live, in your own backyard. We may not be able to do much about the national scene, but this is our backyard. This is where we live, and we certainly don't want to be swimming in a septic tank of this kind of corruption.
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone, and we will promise to keep you up to date as this goes forward. We'll be as honest and transparent as we can be.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you.